What does doubt mean to you? How do you define doubt? Is it fear? Is it hesitation? Or is it lack of conviction? Doubt has meant all of those things to me, and I've experienced doubt in all of those ways in my life. But today, I want to talk about experiencing doubt as water. As water, you can experience doubt as an ocean. And doubt as an ocean can actually cause you to drift away from the shore or the place where you're supposed to be. Doubt as an ocean can cause you to tread to the point where you're fatigued and you can become consumed by doubt, and you can actually drown in doubt. Alternatively, we can experience doubt as in a glass of water. This can't consume me. In fact, I can consume it. It's not likely to carry me away from where I'm supposed to be, and it is manageable in a glass of water. I'd like to share with you all 3 things that I focus on in my life that have enabled me to shrink doubt from the size of an ocean to where it can fit into a glass. And by doing these 3 things, I've transformed my life. And that is, I do not doubt because I have vision. I do not doubt because I forgive. And I do not doubt because I execute. Let me tell you how I developed vision for my life and a dream and hope for my life. My vision came about when I was about 8 years old. I was riding my bicycle in my neighborhood with some of my buddies, and I rode off of a curb in front of a police cruiser that almost hit me. This big police officer said, "Hey, get over here." And then he told me that you could have been killed, and then he used a racial slur. So I was hurt by his words. It was like a dagger in my heart because he's an adult, an authority figure, and I'm just a little kid out riding my bike. So I left away from the police officer, angry, humiliated, and resentful and unforgiving towards that officer. So much so that my anger festered over the next year to when I was about 9 or 10 years old in the 4th grade. A few other friends of mine and I decided we had the wise idea to actually try to break into a police department impound lot. There was a mini bike in this lot, and we were going to take it from the police, and I was going to get some measure of revenge against this officer. So, needless to say, that did not work out very well. We got caught and arrested, and I remember my parents being furious with me, and they told me, "We're not going to get you a lawyer. You made this decision, you're going to live with the consequences of your choice." So my dad and I went to juvenile court, and I remember walking into the courthouse, and I saw lawyers, and they looked calm, cool, and collected. And I was a wreck on the inside, primarily because the arresting officer told me I was going to spend the rest of my life in jail for what I did. So I remember going before the judge without a lawyer, and I got convicted, and I was sentenced to probation. And the probation was quite onerous. I had to be in the house at 6 o'clock every night, which meant I had at 5 o'clock every night, which meant I had to quit my basketball team at the boys' club, which practiced at 6. I had to visit a probation officer every other week. And I was largely confined to my home, kind of home confinement, if you will. And it was during this period of home confinement that I started to dream, and I started to have a vision of becoming a lawyer. And then I also started to dream about what would it be like if I was a successful business person. The vision that I had for myself, I couldn't articulate this as a 10-year-old, but if you distill down what I actually saw for myself at that point was the ability to empower others and to be an advocate for others. And so that was going to come in 2 forms. I was going to be a lawyer, and I was going to be a successful business person. So with that vision, of course, doubt tried to rise up like an ocean. There are no lawyers in your neighborhood. There are no successful business people that come from a place like this or any wealthy people in this neighborhood. And so I had to confront doubt as an ocean. But the power of my vision and my hope for myself, I'm going to help be an advocate for young kids like me that don't have anyone to stand up for them in court. I'm going to invest money in my community, which has been left behind and economically deprived. That vision was so compelling and so powerful that it shrunk doubt from the size of an ocean to where it could fit in a glass. So I do not doubt because I have vision. Secondly, I want to talk about forgiveness. Now, it may seem curious to you to relate unforgiveness to doubt, but here's the connection for me. Unforgiveness is oftentimes about what happened to you in the past. Somebody hurt you or offended you in the past. And so it's backwards looking. For me, doubt has manifested itself in my life mostly by thinking about my past failures. And so it's also backwards looking. And the tension is, how can I have this great big vision of my future if I'm always focused on something that happened behind me? I am a person of faith, and so in my faith, we are taught that you are to forgive 7 times 70. I always thought that was a crazy requirement. That's 490 times. And so as I matured spiritually, I came to understand that teaching that I'm not supposed to subject myself to abuse 490 times or to be taken advantage of that many times. But when you get, the tenet of that teaching is when you get hurt once, real bad, or even a slight hurt, you think about the pain of that and the anger towards the person, place, or thing that hurt you over and over and over again. And it is the practice of capturing that thought of unforgiveness each and every time that it comes up for you and casting it down that will actually shrink what can be an ocean of pain or doubt to where it can actually fit into a glass. I had to learn to forgive myself for the stupid crime I committed. I had to learn to forgive my community for not having the resources to help me reach my vision. I had to forgive my parents for not getting me a lawyer. Unforgiveness, I believe, zaps productivity in companies. I believe unforgiveness strains organizations. And certainly unforgiveness hurts interpersonal relationships. And I'm not saying you don't have a right to be angry about something that has happened to you. What I'm asking you to think about is to give up the desire to change the outcome of something that happened in the past, because you can't hope for a better past. Learning to forgive has allowed me to focus on my vision, which is in front of me, and not think about all the hurt that is behind me. And so I am happy to say that learning to forgive has been the greatest freedom I've ever experienced in my life. And so I do not doubt because I forgive. Finally, I do not doubt because I execute. Having a vision is important. Learning to have radical forgiveness is even more important. But neither of those two matter if you don't execute. Action can shrink a large ocean to where it can fit into a glass. I learned this during my first year as a student at the University of Cincinnati. I was a terrible high school student, probably a D student. I graduated at the bottom of my class. And so needless to say, I did not get any scholarship offers. I actually had to work a full-time job to pay my way through college. And in fact, during my first year, I worked a full-time job and a part-time job. So I kept the following schedule during my first year as a student. I would go to class from 8 in the morning until about 11 o'clock. I would then rush from class to go sell garage doors. I was actually a door-to-door garage door salesman my first year in college. Talk about a business full of ups and downs. Uh, And then, after selling my last garage door, I had to rush to the library, where I stayed in the library until it closed. And then I would rush from the library to go home to try to catch a few hours of sleep before I went into my job as a janitor at a gas station overnight that began at 3 a.m. in the morning until 7 a.m. I kept that grueling, inhumane schedule most of my entire first year of college. And of course, doubt rose up like an ocean. You were a terrible high school student. What makes you think you're going to get out of this place? Can you keep up this pace? You can't keep up this pace. Statistics say that someone who looks like you is supposed to be in prison or dead or maybe dealing crack like some of your buddies back from your old neighborhood. So doubt, it rose up. So this is when I learned the secret and the power of focused execution. I had to manage my life because it was very difficult. I had to figure out a way to get through it. So in focused execution, I learned that I need to make it to class today. I need to sell one garage door today. I need to make it to the library today. I need to keep hope, and I need to keep my dream alive today. And it was through walking through a cycle of repeating this, of keeping my vision out in front of me, forgiving all the hurt in the past that was behind me, and executing daily, that I was able to graduate at the top of my class from the University of Cincinnati with over 4,000 students in my class. I went to a top 10 law school. I got hired by the #1 corporate law firm in the world. I then was recruited to work for the #1 internet company during the dot-com days, and then went off to become a very successful entrepreneur where I've built several multi-million-dollar companies. And I've given out much of my time and a significant amount of my financial resources to invest in young people and to help them to achieve their dreams. It was through going through this cycle of keeping my vision in front of me, forgiving all of the bad things that happened behind me, and executing daily. And I can tell you, if you focus on those three things, as I stand here today, you too will be able to say, I do not doubt.